I'm Dolly Ronnai, and I'm here to explain the burning question of what is a woman. It's something that's being politically debated along party lines generally, and it's kind of an important question. What is a woman? What's the difference between a male and female? And why are we male and female? Well, these used to be questions that God could answer. These were, or we didn't try to answer because they came from God. We are what we are. But nowadays they've gone to secular in the West. They've gone to secularism, where they're trying to get rid of the idea of a God. And to do that, you got to deal with the sexes. Well, who determines the sexes? And we do. I can just say I'm born a man, but I can say that I'm a female by just saying it, and that's kind of crazy. It really isn't. That doesn't make sense, and I don't think anybody really believes that. They just saying it because they can. And then the idea of becoming a woman through, you say, well, I'll do it through the science. I'll just go through surgery and hormone pills or whatever they decide on. But really, this is all frivolous, and it's not something that we should be doing, because when you need to understand, or we all need to understand, that mind is the foundation of everything. And this world is a creation of mind. And we're here, we're eternal beings, we're awareness. We don't die, but we do lose our memories. And that's how we think we came out of nowhere. Well, you don't just come out of nowhere. You come out of your last whatever the former reality you were in, or actually you might be in parallel realities and going to sleep at night and visiting those. So we have, this comes from Seth, Jane Roberts' material, internally, not through his books, that the endless incarnational cycles are divided into seven. It's kind of like the rainbow, 7 chakras, major chakras, things like that. 7 is kind of a special number. And it works with emotion and mind. The two interact. So coming from and this incarnational around like all, so they have 7 personalities. So you have a total of 7 personalities. Those you've lived, and then if you have future ones, it would add up to, actually adds up to 6 plus 1. I won't get into that now. So we are. I'm in contact with my several of my personalities, and Seth in his books, Seth Jane Roberts, has given a way you can contact your incarnational selves. They're your Holy Spirit. They're your guardian angels. They're here helping you because they have an interest in you, and if we have an interest in them, they can help us more. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I have I talked to my first incarnational self, and I found from her that we are at the end of a 7-round incarnational cycle. It began in 68 BC with the birth of Cleopatra. She was the initial beginning of the 7 rounds, and of this incarnational cycle. I'm the 7th, actually. Dolly Madison is the 5th, which I have a connection to, which has caused me to take the name Dolly Ronnai. And so at the end of at the beginning, the entity puts out 7 personalities, one after the next. So the reality isn't, we're not on a globe. We're not sitting on the outside of a round globe, nor are we on a flat Earth. But we are actually a strand of consciousness traveling through time. That's E equals mc squared. Mass equals energy divided by time has the speed of light squared. But that's just kind of a bogus. It's kind of a bogus formula, because Einstein figured it out, and then he had to backwards make it work so that the world will believe it, that mass is energy, electromagnetic energy, in a space-time continuum. You've heard that space-time continuum. Some noise upstairs. Sorry. So Einstein knows this. Descartes had an idea, but I think therefore I am. It's an assumption to make, a starting point, and so my first incarnation self, Cleopatra, came to me, and she came through the Seth, bringing her in. If you just think somebody, you can think your loved ones, and then they'll feel it, and they think you, and then you're both communicating, and that happens routinely for all of us. It's not any big new deal. So this happened with me. I'm in incarnation. I'm in telepathic communication with Cleopatra, who was my guardian angel, as was Dolly, and the males have already. I was told they've already resolved into Cleopatra now. So my job as the seventh is to see that we all resolve together. So originally Cleopatra suggested that they'll all resolve into me, and then then all their qualities, what their knowledge comes into me, and then you get this boost. Or I could otherwise resolve into her, and then she'll come into this world and dissolve Ron, and then I'll be gone, actually. But I won't be gone because I'm the same awareness as Cleopatra. It's a little bit of mystery to me. I haven't completely figured that one out myself. So that's where I'm at. I'm it's like evolutionary changes, where the 7 incarnations are coming together. The entity split into 7, led different lives, maybe as an African, maybe as a Hispanic, or a white person, actually an Irish woman, is Dolly, and then we go, and then at the end of this 7, now each of those personalities is the spirit. They don't die. So it's one entity has now split into 7, and then at the end of the 7th incarnation, they need to resolve back. And I'm told by Cleopatra that if we do resolve back, then we'll break the cycle of reincarnation, and we hit the jackpot. Well, all the religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, and anyway, Western metaphysics, all say that the cycles can end, and then we reach a blissful existence. So we end that by resolving ourselves. Now, if I can't resolve me, a different culture, a different race, a different skin color, a different sex with my other selves, then a new incarnational round of 7 begins. That must last, go through the 7 before we have another opportunity to break it. Only breaks on the last one when the 7 can come together. That shows we've learned our lessons. We can resolve into skin color and sex and all of the things that we think we're special for, and we're really not. We're equal. And so this is what I'm doing right now, and we're having some pretty good success. I think we're going to break the cycle of incarnation. And if we break it, then there's a pathway for you to break it too, because we're all interconnected. We can create a pathway to heaven. And so that's what I'm doing. I was resolving into Cleopatra, but there were issues having to do with Dolly Madison. It turns out that she's actually very extroverted, and she's very sexually active. And I was born introverted, and didn't have the skills to really mix. So I was pretty much a loner for the early part of my life. And so we're two very different entities. So I'm letting her have the keys to our entity, and she's taking them. And so I'll slowly change into Dolly Madison, who will take the name Dolly Ronnai, and that's where we're at right now. So there was a purpose for me to, I'm not trying to explain why I did it, but I kind of have to get this clear. But there's a purpose. If there's a purpose to move from a male to a female, then you do, or from a female to a male, then you can do that. But if there's no purpose, then no one's going to have an interest. Like if Cleopatra hadn't had an interest in me becoming female, it wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have even thought about it. Wouldn't even cared. I would have been happy with where I was. So if people tell you that you'd be smarter to be the other sex, that's not true. Only you know that, and it's not going to happen in this life. I'm in a special case here because of the situation, the end of the Incarnational round, and Cleopatra advanced. So she had the knowledge of the Egyptians, the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Jesus is the second incarnation of her, and so he had the same knowledge, and that's what he was teaching. And then that got mixed into the creating of a peaceful religion called Christianity, which happened, but it's not. The teachings of Jesus are hidden, and they'll come out. So the teachings of Jesus are the same as Cleopatra. They are mind is the foundation of everything. So the idea that when you die or pass through the death illusion, and you'll be in a more fluidic area, and you'll have to start thinking on your feet. If you don't have a sound mind, you'll be swept back into the world through erotic sexual desires or through attachment, and you might have no say into where you're born and who you are, but if you're somewhat developed, then you will have a say in it. So this is really where we want to put our thoughts into development. If there's a reason for you to switch sexes, you will switch sexes, but you can control that somewhat by thinking, you want to be the other sex in the next life. At least I think you can. I'd have to talk to Seth about that. He says you can, and so, but also what he says is that a third of us are always male. Another third of us are always female, and then the other third in between go back and forth. They're kind of the more fringe people, the ones that like excitement, because it's harder to become a female, to incarnate naturally into a female, than it is to just incarnate into a. The easiest way would be to incarnate from an Irish woman to another Irish woman, right? You wouldn't have too much to do there. But when you have to cross cultural beliefs, nationalities, all that, that's what you need, because otherwise you might fear those people. You need to, so that's why we do that. And so the idea is what is a woman and what is a man? Well, we know what they are, that the woman carries a child, and the man is the hunter-gatherer who provides for the woman. That's the traditional thing. And you can break that mold. There's nobody saying you can't. And in the spirit world, we're neither female nor male. And there's also male and female energy. Female energy will bring the male, it pulls the male. That's like the electron is the male, moves to the proton. The proton is pulling the male. So there's only female energy, and males are driven to the females for, I think, what are obvious reasons. The females are much prettier and softer and all that. So that's the difference. You don't need to do anything. You have to have a purpose if you want to change sexes, and you're going to do it going into your next life or a future life. It's not going to happen otherwise. So I think I've said everything I need to say, and thanks for listening.